Hey, this is Michael Kiwanuka here to promote my new album that's coming out called Kiwanuka here on France 24.
His music radiates a powerful and timeless warmth. In just a few years, British singer-songwriter Michael Kiwanuka's soulful tracks have shot him to the top of the charts. His first album, 2012's Home Again, went gold in the UK. And his second album, Love and Hate, debuted in 2016 at #1. He's back with his third studio album, Kiwanuka. Kiwanuka is your third album. What can fans expect from this new album, and how is it different from your two previous albums?
I would like to say it's a continuation from my last record, but it's probably, how I describe it, it's more vivid, a bit more like abstract at times. And just try to make like a world in itself in this record. And it's kind of a bit more psychedelic. Songs merge into one another, and things are just less structured, you know? Mm-hmm. So a bit more of a world in itself, a bit more like a dream state, this record, I think. Living the trouble, don't hesitate. Time heals the pain, you ain't the problem. You conceived Kiwanuka as 4 sides of a vinyl, 14 tracks strung together by instrumental interludes. There are also like sampled memories of American civil rights sit-ins. So you've called this album your belated protest. What are you protesting against? You know, I just feel like when I was writing it, including myself, there's a lot of self-deprecation, a lot of comparison with each other. Like, this person's got a better life, and we're just diluting ourselves on the internet, you know, just showing everyone just the good bits. And Kiwanuka is kind of a protest against that. It's just to be yourself, embrace the bits that kind of you wouldn't post on your Instagram. You know, the civil rights kind of sit-ins and the stuff that I put in the interludes and stuff. You know, I think a lot of the unrest and stuff comes often when when you don't really initially value yourself. If you don't value yourself or value life, it's hard to value someone else.
Am I a hero? Am I a hero now?
Some of the songs on the album are actually quite political as well. You have the song Hero that pays homage to leaders from the American civil rights movement, so Malcolm X, Martin Luther King Jr. Are these personal heroes of yours?
Yeah, the song Hero kind of got going for me lyrically when I started reading about Fred Hampton. It just kind of hit me, just his life and how much he gave, how much of a hero he was for young black men and women. And he spoke positively. Like, he was a strong speaker, but he was just all positivity to his people, to really embrace themselves, to really value themselves as good people, as people that deserve to be counted as well. And that's just a message I think everybody should hear. So he definitely was a hero of mine. And then the song kind of, talks about, it's sad that these people that have these things to say get assassinated. He was assassinated, killed off, taken out. And a lot of singers and speakers, obviously Martin Luther King, just people that have a lot to give seems to be often taken out. So Hero was kind of reflecting on that. But at the same time, Hero reflects on this kind of anti-alter ego thing that I have where I feel like people used to think it was like, the way to make it and be, this hero or iconic musician or artist, whatever, you had to kind of make up this person that didn't really exist because yourself wasn't enough. So kind of is like against that, like, am I a hero? Ask the question. No, I'm not.
What's interesting is you've been quite open about your own struggles with self-doubt, imposter syndrome, which can be quite surprising given your 2 hit albums. What is it about this album that brought you peace and confidence?
It comes to a point where you either just like continue that habit for the rest of your life or you just stop. You kind of have to make the decision essentially yourself. And I found that I was missing the experience, the dream job. And I've only ever been a musician or wanted to be a musician. I've actually seen and achieved more than I ever imagined. You know, even at this stage, when I was at school, I was happy to play my guitar and like be a musician, and I never dreamed I'd be like an artist doing my, you know, here in Paris, promoting an album. And I was missing all those good things because I was too busy like, oh, am I good enough? Is this gonna be, what's he gonna think? What's she gonna think? And conversations with friends and just, you know, where do you get your confidence from? And I found that it just kind of comes from within. And again, going back to calling it Kiwanuka was just me saying that finally I'm just gonna do that. And it doesn't mean that you walk around with your chest puffed out and you think you're the best. It's just more that it doesn't matter, you know. Some things you win, some things you don't. But that's okay, you know. You just enjoy yourself and you be yourself.
Is there a secret to finding self-confidence? I'm asking for myself.
I mean, I go up and down. It's always there, the doubt. And actually, doubt can be really good at times, you know. It keeps you focused.
Waterfall, don't ever change me. Fall with me for a million on my wall.
I want to talk to you about your influences because you've been compared to a modern-day Bill Withers or Gil Scott-Heron. Who are the artists who actually inspire you, and what is your songwriting process like?
Those guys have inspired me a lot. You know, Hendrix, Marvin Gaye, a lot of older people, singers, because I just relate to that for some reason. I think content and stuff. And my process is just to kind of sit down and play. It's just kind of like noodle around. And some people are like really scientific. I'm just kind of like just throw paint at the canvas and wait for something emotional to hit.
And I have to ask you about one of your songs, which is "Cold Little Heart," which was used as a theme song for the HBO series Big Little Lies.
Yeah.
Bleeding, I'm bleeding. My cold little heart. Oh, I can't stand myself. And I know in my heart, in this cold heart, I can live or I can die. I believe if I just try, you believe in you and I.
That really propelled you to international fame, but can you still stand that song today?
That TV show and them using that song kind of put me into, you know, the closest I'll probably get so far to like full-on mainstream. I mean, that show was a mainstream TV show, so it got into the houses of way more people than maybe it would have done just on the album on its own. So I'm really grateful for that. It's allowed me to have a career and go over to America and play shows, and people from that found the record. So, you know, 99.9% of the time, I'm like super grateful, and I love how they use it too. So creatively and artistically, I think it's amazing. So I'm really proud of it. Really blessed to have had that. Sometimes you want to say I've got other tunes, but then at the same time, this is a tough business. So like any break you can get, and that's like a pretty good one.
And you're quite accustomed to being somewhat of an outsider.
Yeah.
So your parents are originally from Uganda. They fled the Idi Amin Dada regime. You grew up in mainly a white neighborhood. These days you pay for often a white audience. And you talked about this in one of your songs, Black Man in a White World.
I'm a black man in a white world. I'm a black man in a white world.
Would you say there's a certain amount of freedom that comes from being an outsider?
100%, I think there's, and freedom from being an outsider is the trick. I think, you get taught to fit in, but actually, when you're an outsider, you don't have the same rules everyone else does, and I think that's why artists usually come from being outsiders, because you end up creating what isn't there. So you look at the TV, you kind of look around your neighborhood. You look at your family, where you're from, and you don't see what you see. So you think, I'm just going to try and make it for fun. It's nothing too profound. It's just that you naturally will just make stuff up because you can't. There's nothing to really fully represent yourself, and then because of that, you kind of have your own lane and your own unique walk, and it's really freeing. Whereas you could probably be in a place where you feel the pressures of continuing, I always think of people whose parents have they do the same jobs as their parents and their parents' parents, and that's amazing. And I used to really wish for that because if I felt like you'd fit in and you had but there's pressures that come with that I've never really had to face. So it's good, but that definitely took a while to come. I feel like with this album, it finally clicked and thought really it's those things that are exciting and those things that maybe allow you to be a singer. Mm-hmm. It's not having the perfect voice, it's having something that really sounds unique and pops out. That's probably the things that are a bit wrong with it is the things that probably people like. So yeah, it's definitely freeing. But you know, when you're a teenager, you just want to fit in. So yeah.
And you mentioned having your own lane because you are kind of like an analog singer in a digital world.
Yeah.
You talked about social media earlier, about everyone seeking perfection.
Yeah.
Do you think it's important to kind of promote raw, maybe not perfect sound in this world that's seeking perfection?
Yeah, 100%. Because really, if you're seeking perfection, you're just always going to lose. You'll never find it. So, I mean, that's probably one of the most depressing ways to live, is to look for something that just doesn't exist. You're just always disappointed, like always. You've always failed, you know. Whereas imperfections is something else. That's something that's more like you said, your own lane. It's like, it's freeing because imperfections there's only one of a kind. So I think it's really important for people to see imperfections and to hear rawness, because it's like really that is what it's all about. And you'll just be way more happier if you embrace that than just perfection, because that just doesn't exist.
Thanks so much for being on the show. It's been a real pleasure to have you.
Yeah, thanks for having me.